February 2020. Tensions are running high in Delhi. For weeks, protesters have been condemning a new Indian citizenship law that they say discriminates against Muslims.
Everybody in our country to stay because our Muslim, they are also our brothers. We all are equal.
Then, within the space of hours, violence explodes in the protesters' neighborhood. It would become the deadliest Hindu-Muslim violence seen in decades in Delhi. And the majority of the victims belonged to India's Muslim minority. The riots were soon eclipsed by another crisis, coronavirus. But in the months since, people involved in the protest movement say they are being quietly targeted.
अगर आप इस वीडियो को देख रहे हैं, इसका यह मतलब है कि मुझे गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया है.
I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that critics of this government are under threat.
India's government claims it is bringing perpetrators of February's violence to justice, but activists and monitors are raising questions about these moves. Is India's government trying to silence its critics? First, let's take a closer look at the law that sparked the protests in the first place. In December 2019, the Indian Parliament passed what it called the Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA. The new law grants amnesty to people who came to India illegally from 3 neighboring Muslim-majority countries.
पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश और अफगानिस्तान से आए हुए हिंदू, सिख, जैन, पारसी.
It also offers a fast track to Indian citizenship. But it includes a key exception. It only applies to non-Muslim migrants, a provision opponents of the law say is unfair and discriminatory.
Citizenship Amendment Act is actually the first act of the Indian Parliament that discriminates on the basis of religion. Indian Constitution provides that any discrimination on the basis of religion is not permitted. Indian Citizenship Act, unlike in many other countries, does not mention race, descent, religion, or anything of that kind. And for the first time, through this amendment, a religious ground has been introduced. And this, to my mind, violates the Constitution of India.
Starting late last year, sometimes violent protests against the new legislation happened around the country. But things turned deadliest in Delhi during the days-long riots this past February. Authorities say more than 50 people were killed in total. Both Hindu and Muslim mobs fought viciously, but accounts suggest the Muslim community was most heavily targeted. Most of the dead were Muslims. The property laid to waste largely belonged to Delhi's Muslim minority. Many Muslim witnesses have accused police of standing by and failing to help them.
थोड़ा सा डर भी है और कुछ गुस्सा भी है लोगों के अंदर, क्योंकि टाइम पे जो होना चाहिए था एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरफ से वो हो नहीं पाया. 36 घंटे तक क्यों होने दिया इतना सब कुछ?
Over 1,500 people were ultimately arrested or detained in connection with the Delhi riots. Some of those detained or questioned by police say victims of the violence are being treated like perpetrators.
Muslims who are victims of this violence are being blamed for this violence. It is said that Muslims themselves did this violence. They themselves burnt their houses, etc. They themselves got themselves killed to blame Hindus and blame this government. So this is it would look very strange to outsiders. But this is what has been happening for last 6-7 years, especially in India, that Muslims themselves are being held responsible for attacks on them.
One case has drawn particular scrutiny, that of Umar Khalid, a political activist and prominent critic of the CAA. Khalid is a Muslim student leader who has been opposing government policies for the last few years. He is very popular with the youth and student communities in India. During the CAA protests, he gave public speeches in different parts of the country that attracted thousands of people. Delhi police arrested him in September. He was charged under anti-terror laws with conspiring to engineer communal violence. Khalid may have anticipated the arrest and the charges. A few days earlier, he had recorded this video.
जो सरकार के आलोचक हैं, जो सरकार की नीतियों का और खास तौर से सीए कानून का विरोध कर रहे थे, एनआरसी का विरोध कर रहे थे, उनको झूठे मुकदमों में फंसाया जा रहा है. कोई सबूत नहीं है उनके पास. कई सारे छात्र नौजवानों को गिरफ्तार कर लिया है.
Rights monitors say his case is part of an alarming pattern.
Unfortunately, Umar Khalid's arrest has come at a time when a number of people, number of human rights activists have been arrested. There have been arrests of people who peacefully protested against the citizenship laws. Unfortunately, it appears that the Indian authorities right now are acting with extreme bias. They are going after, they're targeting, they're harassing, they're filing cases, and they're arresting those that criticize government policies.
Apart from arresting Khalid, the police have named at least 15 prominent academics and activists in connection with the riots. And there's one thing in common. They have all publicly spoken out against the CAA. They include Professor Apurvanand. He is concerned that the arrests may force Indian citizens to start censoring themselves.
It also has a chilling effect on universities and other academics because they stop speaking. It has a chilling effect on classrooms because classrooms are one space where you think that you are free to discuss ideas. Now it's very one doesn't know if you are talking to your students or you are being recorded. Based on that recording, you can be arrested.
Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India's ruling party, the BJP, has pushed back on the claims. Officials have said there's no evidence critics are being targeted and that police are pursuing the cases independently. The BJP points to police investigations suggesting some of the accused have clear links to militants and terror groups. BJP officials insist the opposition's allegations are self-defeating.
If you watch Indian television, every evening you will find for the last so many years, these opponents loudly proclaiming that their voices are being suppressed. And they do this openly on television, they do this openly on social media, basically contradicting their own assertions because they are loudly speaking against it.
But independent rights monitors are also raising alarm about the Indian government's actions, including in an October statement from the UN Human Rights Chief. India has long had a strong civil society, which has been at the forefront of groundbreaking human rights advocacy within the country and globally. But I am concerned that vaguely defined laws are increasingly being used to stifle these voices. Activists and human rights defenders have also come under mounting pressure in recent months, particularly because of their engagement in mass protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act that took place across the country earlier this year. More than 1,500 people have reportedly been arrested in relation to the protests, with many charged under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, a law which has also been widely criticized for its lack of conformity with international human rights standards. India's standing on the World Democracy Index has also declined since Prime Minister Modi took office in 2014. It ranked 27th at the time. By 2019, India had dropped to position 51.
When we look at what's happening in India today, I think there can be no denying the fact that the space for dissent has rapidly shrunk.
Right now, what we are finding is that a lot of the institutions that are supposed to uphold human rights in India are crumbling, they are under extreme pressure, and they are often showing political and ideological bias. That is extremely concerning for us because not only does it have a chilling effect on speech, in the end, it hurts the government because if a government that is not willing to listen to its critics will not be able to correct the many challenges that exist in India today.
Political observers say one of those challenges is the deep division in Indian society resulting from the Citizenship Amendment Act.
I think India is in a precarious position, but something that we know also about Indian citizens is that they have a long history of organizing against what they see as unfair and unjust policies. And my hope is that that continued organization will be a major sort of hurdle, right, in terms of pushing back or rolling back democracy in the country.
According to the UN's World Population Prospects Report, India is projected to overtake China by 2027 as the most populous country in the world. But some fear the country could be drifting away from its status as the world's biggest democracy.